grounds, universities in Indonesia and abroad, research institutes, NGOs, as well as INGOs, government bodies and agencies, health service providers, as well as colleagues from the media and broadcasting sector. And we're really delightful by your presence. Welcome to today's International Experts Dialogue on Indonesia's free nutritious meal programs or Makan Bergizi Gratis, MBG. I think that this dialogue today is intended for as a learning oriented space, as a space for open reflections and exchange on one of the largest school feeding programs in the world, I may say. And together we will explore not only its ambition, but also its realities of its implementation. In its very first year, the government have reported that the program have reached approximately 26.7 million students and delivered 1.41 billion meal packages, cited from Celia's Research 2025. And as well as you know that today's seminar is convened by Celios Center for Economics and Law Studies dengan dukungan dari ADAKSI, Aliansi Dosen Akademik dan Kevokasian Seluruh Indonesia. We sincerely thank all speakers and participants for contributing to this important and timely conversation. My name is Atina, and I'm now based in Utrecht, in the Netherlands. I'm currently studying for my PhD at Copernicus Institute of Sustainable Development, University of Utrecht, and it's really an honor for me to be moderating today's seminar. And today's discussion is really timely and important. I can say multiple times as the MBG is one of the largest school feeding programs due to the number of beneficiaries and a flagship policy of the current Indonesian government, which its initial aim, as we know, is to improve child nutrition, educational outcomes, local food systems, and employment. But at the same time, emerging evidences from civil society and community monitoring been reminding us that the scale alone doesn't guarantee safety, quality, and accountability. So yeah, this seminar is designed as learning-oriented space, not a forum for blame, I guess, but for more evidence-based reflection, comparative learning, and constructive dialogue grounded in Indonesian realities with the comparisons of more global experiences. Saya dikit sampaikan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi diskusi hari ini saya rasa sangat penting dan relevan karena program MBG merupakan salah satu program terbesar, program makanan sekolah terbesar dilihat dari jumlah penerima manfaat, dan program ini juga merupakan kebijakan unggulan pemerintah Indonesia saat ini dengan berbagai tujuan awal seperti meningkatkan gizi anak, capaian pendidikan, penguatan sistem pangan lokal, serta penciptaan lapangan kerja. Namun pada saat yang sama berbagai temuan dari kelompok masyarakat sipil maupun pantauan dari komunitas menunjukkan bahwa pembangunan atau program dalam skala besar seperti ini tidak selalu secara otomatis menjamin keselamatan, kualitas maupun akuntabilitas. Oleh karena itu, seminar ini dirancang sebagai ruang belajar bersama, bukan untuk mencari siapa yang salah, tapi lebih kepada ruang untuk saling berbagi pengalaman, belajar dari berbagai hasil studi empiris, dan sebagai ruang dialog yang lebih terbuka. Dan diskusi ini berangkat dari pengalaman yang ada di Indonesia sekaligus membuka ruang pembelajaran dari berbagai konteks global. Then now I'm switching again in English. Before we begin, I would like to introduce today's speakers, and I'm really delightful and happy for having all female panelists today. So we're gonna have Isnawati Hidayah, PhD candidate. She's also a researcher at Celios. She's now currently pursuing PhD in 2 campuses, Sapienza di Roma, Italy, and Leiden University, the Netherlands. Initially, we'll have Professor Jessica Kiefte de Jong, Professor of Population Health at Leiden University, but we recently received an information that she's currently very unwell and unfortunately unable to participate in this dialogue. I truly apologize for this unforeseen situation, but Prof. Kiefte de Jong has indicated that she will reach out once her conditions allows and is willing to record her thoughts and share them with us at a later stage. This will then be forwarded to you via the registered email addresses. Seharusnya kita ada Profesor Jessica Kiefte de Jong, namun saat ini sedang sakit dan tidak dapat berpartisipasi dalam dialog ini. Namun kita kehadiran seorang akademisi juga, Dr. Irma Hidayana, Assistant Professor of Population Health, Director of Community Health Program at Hofstra University. Selamat pagi Bu Irma. In the United States, dan beliau juga merupakan salah satu inisiator lapor sehat yang merupakan bagian dari MBG Watch, koalisi warga platform pengaduan dan pengawasan program MBG. So, Dr. Irma Hidayana will talk about the similar topic like Prof. Kiefte de Jong about why programs succeed or fail in a more academic perspective. And we also have Ana Luisa Domingos, PhD. Hello, Ana. Good morning. She's a nutritionist and climate specialist. She's gonna talk about a comparative international perspective from the similar program in Brazil. And we also have Dr. Tan Shot Yen. Mungkin beliau akan bergabung nanti. Oh, selamat sore, selamat pagi menjelang sore, Dr. Tan. She's a senior nutritionist, a practitioner in Indonesia, and she's gonna talk about nutrition and the risks of ultra-processed foods in the school meals program, the MBG program. And last but not least, we have Dr. Grace Wange. Selamat sore, Ibu Grace. She's an associate professor in public health, Monash University, Indonesia, and she have the topics of food safety, so lesson from many food poisonings in these incidents in Indonesia. And before we begin each presentation, I want to inform maybe the rules of the house to have more smooth flow of discussion due to the time. So each speaker will have maximum of 15 minutes to present your ideas. Ibu-ibu sekalian akan memiliki 15 menit untuk menyampaikan paparannya, and I will notify you when there are 5 minutes remaining. So I'll turn on my mic and just say that you still have 5 minutes. Dipersilahkan kepada speakers apabila ingin menyampaikan paparan dalam bahasa Indonesia, meskipun bahasa utama yang kita gunakan adalah bahasa Inggris. Jadi di akhir sesi presentasi akan saya sampaikan poin-poin penting, baik itu dalam bahasa Indonesia ke Inggris maupun sebaliknya dalam bahasa Inggris ke Indonesia. And there's gonna be a short Q&A, question and answer, following each presentation for the maximum 2 questions. Jadi dipersilahkan kepada ibu bapak audiens untuk bertanya di setiap sesi presentasi. Silakan juga pertanyaan bisa disampaikan secara langsung maupun menuliskannya di chat box. Bisa dengan raise hand untuk menyampaikan pertanyaan secara langsung maupun menuliskannya di kolom komentar. And we kindly ask all speakers to stay in the Zoom session until the end, as we're gonna have a final round of Q&A. More like a general discussion during the time. But if in any case any speaker has an urgent commitment and cannot remain until the end, you're really welcome to leave after completing your presentations and the short Q&A. So thank you for your understanding. Dan kami sampaikan juga bahwa materi presentasi akan dibagikan dan dikirimkan ke email Bapak Ibu audiens melalui email yang digunakan pada saat mendaftar. And again, I'll say that our main language for this seminar will be English. Namun di setiap sesi presentasi akan saya bantu sampaikan poin-poin penting dari setiap paparan. Begitu juga dalam proses Q&A. I think we'll now can move on to this substantive session, which sets the empirical foundations for today's discussion. As many of us know, nearly 1 year after the MBG's implementation, a comprehensive, independent, and publicly accessible government evaluations is still lacking. And that is the frame of today's discussion. Celios has their evaluation finding, Celios as the first civil society organization in Indonesia to conduct a comprehensive independent evaluations of this program. In the absence of a publicly available government-led evaluation, they try to provide an important evidence base for understanding the implementation challenges and as well as supporting policy learning in Indonesia. So I'm very pleased to invite Isnawati Hidayah from Celios research team to present their key findings from this evaluation that might cover implementation challenges, food safety incidents, as well as labor condition, nutritional adequacy, and governance gaps. Without further ado, Isnawati, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Athena, for the opportunity. I would like to share my screen. Okay, I hope all of you can see it. So, yeah, let's start the discussion. So, the first time I heard about free school meal program is that I saw a hope here, because in the end, we know that there are so many successful stories in a whole world about this program. It can give good benefit to children, to household, even to empower the economy. They're also supported with so many studies that can be easily accessed in our nowadays, how it can give a good support the academic performance and then improve the diet quality and everything. However, unfortunately, it is not for us, Indonesian. So today I would like to lay the ground for the discussion. So it's this is the latest study that we conduct, Not Free, Not Nutritious Meal Program, and I'm Isnawati Hidayat, one of the researcher in Celios. Before we going further for the discussion, we have the basic question: what is Free Nutritious or MBG program? Just in case I saw like several our international friends joining. This is the program that kind of the core campaign promised by Prabowo Subianto during the presidential election. And then it has been expanded rapidly nationwide, and its flagship program from their administration. What are the purposes? The purpose is that first, to improve the nutrition among vulnerable population, enhance children educational performance, empower local economic actors, and also create employment opportunities. And we found that there are miserable facts on this program. What is it? The first, there's no a single study, like comprehensive one, without any piloting and feasibility study before the implementation of the program. And then it's also, the information also unclear and poorly integrated. Simply by Googling it, you can sporadic information for this program, not kind of integrated one. And then the budget is very huge. The presidential regulation was issued nearly a year late. And then there are so many food poisoning incidents happen. Then the government response have been confusing and also inconsistent. And there is a minimal transparency on it and insufficient data and rigorous studies to support this implementation. And the government already gives so many claims without any evidence. And the flagship program running without a map. Why we said so? Because according to BGN guideline, BGN is the one who in charge on implementing this project or this program. It says that it's kind of ballot magic, one program that can provide social assistance and then can empower the economy, can improve the health outcome, education outcome, food security, and also create job for people. It's kind of too good to be true, honestly. And in fact, when we try to analyze it after 1 year of implementation, there are so many kind of problem, from the misallocation of budget, and then we have the indication of corruption. There are so many not qualified, low quality food provided to our kids. And then we have also found the food poisoning cases happen. And there is kind of the vendor that control that involved in the program is that the bigger one, not the small local market or local vendors that we expect. And there are so many other problems, include the unemployment, especially for those working in the specific food small business in surrounding the school and area of MBG implementation. And then We also know that everyone in Indonesia already know about it because it's very huge coverage in the media that the president claimed the successful rate is 99.9%. And it's always kind of campaigning that, oh, this program is successfully implemented in Indonesia, a claim made without a single supporting data to this day. And the realities in the ground is that there are so many cases of food poisoning, including for pregnant women, breastfeeding women, and also younger children. And it also happened in other children at school, and it's keep going to this day. And based on the Celios data correction, we found that nearly like 20,000 cases food poisoning happened per 31st January 2026. And this picture I would like to show you is what kind of food served to our kids. So it's not AI generated, but it's a real pic by the parents and also beneficiaries of MBG that sent to MBG Watch. So they try to report what kind of food they get, how it is give the long-term cost for their kids and anything. So this is what they serve. They serve high HFSS product or high fat, sugar, salt, unhealthy ultra-processed food, and also food high in added sugar and sodium. With those kind of food served, how big is MBG's budget actually? So the budget is very huge. It's 335 trillion Indonesian currency, or it's like equal to 20 to 21 billion US dollar, and it's very huge one because then 223 trillion Indonesian currency budget for MBG allocated from educational budget. So it's almost like 14 billion US dollar. Do you know how big is it? To give you a comparison, so for a contractual teacher salary in Indonesia, maximum they only get like 1.5 million Indonesian currency, or it's equal 18 to 88 euro per month. Can you imagine? So the budget is very huge. Has MBG delivered on its stated objectives? So we would like to discuss it one by one. So we conduct this research for several months, and we also have the working paper for this one. So if you want to discuss about the methodology later on, we can discuss it outside this occasion. So the myth is that it is save families money, but in reality, the family pay double burden, which is the tax to fund the MBG and also the substituted food, because almost 65% parents say that they need to spend additional money because the children didn't want to eat the MBG meal. And we also, not only descriptive analysis, we try to have the correlation and causalization analysis as well. And it also shows kind of consistent result, which is the poorer quality of MBG means that the greater likelihood of family need to spend more money to buy the food for their kids. And the myth number 2 is that school meal fix the stunting. But in reality, the program misses the critical biological window. There are so many rigorous and robust study about this one that stunting can only address in very specific window, which is the first 1,000 days of life. And it's kind of minimally coverage in this MBG implementation. We also try to see whether parents report the increase in their children body weight, but there is no empirical proof for that as well. And the next myth is that it can improve the focus and diligence of children, but our findings shows that no empirical evidence on this matter. The parents says that they didn't see significant change on their kids, maybe because of it's still 1 year, but we also run several analyses. For instance, there is no empirical evidence as well. And this is, we try to compare several analyses like, for instance, a PSM like propensity score matching and other logit regression and stuff. And the result is consistent on that matter. And the next one is that it empowers local economic or local people by opening job. But in fact, there are many big vendors like controlling the supply of food to the central kitchen and to the school. And people didn't know who would supply their food actually. It's lack of transparency as well. In another finding, people say that 40% people perceive that the job opportunity created is very limited due to lack of transparency on the recruiting process, and also lack of transparency on the supply chain as well. So they didn't know who's the business that involved in this supply chain of MBG, and 79% respondent aware of potential of conflict on interest on the implementation. And the sad news is that 4 out of 5, the nutritionists that working in the central kitchen are working more than 8 hours a day, so overwork. And then we can have a conclusion that for the 4 core MBK objective, there's not a single one get achieved by the government in this 1 year implementation. What else is going wrong? So there are so many number of problems that we cannot address all in today's, but maybe we can hear from other speaker about their perspective. But we would like to highlight several findings that we found. There is a financial cost, which means that the opportunity loss. What can be done with this budget? So when we mentioned that the teacher, a contractual teacher in Indonesia is very low paid, only with 12 days of MBG budget, we actually can pay a full year of their salary with a bit proper of salary for them. And then the MBG also—
We have 5 minutes left.
Okay, MBG also take the budget from health as well, that also have the inclusion error, which is 34.2%, means that we lost the benefit of preventing the stunting investment in the future. We also lost 700 more food local at risk at loss because of the standardization that applied by the government, and we also have risk to lose the job, which is 1.9 million job for people that working in the canteen and etc. And there is also domination of men on the leadership of BGN. So Celius kind of give recommendation, so they can give direct meal and scholarship for only targeted school, which is in the stunting priority areas or in the extreme poverty. We can really empower the local people and include the nutritionists in the process. Or maybe when we want to address the pregnant women, breastfeeding mother, and poor family with toddler, we can provide them with BLT, for instance, or direct transfer and training on providing the household nutritious food. And also Indonesia actually has that project as well, priority MBG program. And this is how useful the budget actually when we can allocate to another important priority in the society. And then this is the 10 message that we would like to deliver to our government. For Prabowo Subianto, we ask for moratorium of this project, stop the expansion, do the audit, and then do the transformation of this one, include the people, local people, and then please do a budget reallocation. Don't take from our kids' budget in education and health, for instance. And then, however, instead of doing some preparation evaluation, the government pushing the program like they are trying to give to the people with children from illegal marriage, or maybe people, children that do not go to school, the elderly, and also disabled. They are still having limited access of healthcare and education. So we didn't believe that by providing 1 meal a day can solve their basic problem. And it is very heartbreaking because instead of evaluating, they choose to expand it. Instead of addressing the problem, they choose to ignore it. So that's why the event was held. We would like to call for help for all the academia experts to just contribute their thought, their insight to provide the policy brief or policy recommendation to government. At least we show that we care in this matter. And then please spread the word, especially about the fact, about the data, about the reality that when we do any kind of program, we need to make sure this is based on the very rigorous study or based on the evidence. And Celius also called for experts for our Indonesian researcher academia that working in this area, the MBG area. They can submit their input to us until 28th of February. And we would like to use it to make policy brief for advocacy in multiple level, including in the international organization like UN body and all other related organization. And I would like to show you, just in case you would like to joining Celius channel, we would like to update our recent study, and we also have MBG Watch. If you have any concern or things that you would like to report about the implementation of MBG, we have this collective action called MBG Watch. You can scan it, and if you want to know more about the report that I present to you, because it's very huge one, you can download it through the QR code as well. So that's all from me. I hope please don't stay compliant. We need to say something. If you have your knowledge, please contribute it. We wait for that, and let's contribute something to our kids, to our country, Indonesia especially. That's all from me. I give it back to our moderator, Athina Rosidiana. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Isna, for delivering a rigorous research, evidence-based research, and that you and your team had done. As if all the audience ingin mengakses hasil dari penelitian yang sudah dilakukan Celios, silakan untuk mengunjungi website Celios maupun di kolom komentar. Sepertinya sudah di drop linknya oleh tim. Dan untuk sesi kali ini kami tidak membuka pertanyaan Q&A karena if there might have more queries from the audience, pertanyaan mengenai temuan penelitian Celios dapat dituliskan di kolom komentar, dan jika memungkinkan beberapa dapat kita bahas di akhir sesi. Namun pertanyaan dan komentar Anda akan sangat bermanfaat untuk masukan tim meneliti dan mungkin bisa menjadi dasar untuk nanti dibuatkan platform lanjutan. So questions and comments are really welcome. Please feel free to post them in the chat box, and if time permits, we'll address some of them by the end of the session, and all remaining questions will be documented as a valuable insights for the research team, and Celia's team could possibly follow this up through other channels. I think we now can move to the next presenter. We have Dr. Irma from Hofstra University, United States. Selamat pagi sekali, Mbak Irma. And yeah, I think you're gonna address a really fundamental questions today, like why do some free meal programs deliver sustained nutrition and education benefits while others may fall short? I think, yeah, without further ado, the time is yours, Mbak Irma. You'll have 15 minutes, and I'll notify you when there's 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, baik. Thank you very much, Mbak Athina. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me for last minute, but fortunately I can make it, and then I would love to contribute to this fascinating discussions. So let me just get started. Mungkin saya akan gado-gado bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Inggris, Mbak. Okay, so the topic that I would like to share with you all is why school meal programs succeed or fail. So basically, I would like to share the experiences from global experiences from different countries, but I believe I will, speaking about Brazil, as we have Anna here, I think it would be great if we could hear directly from her in a little later. So MBG, or Free Nutritious Meal Program, or it categorized as school lunch in the school feeding program. It is a very complex program. It is sometimes it might look simple, but rather a complex interventions. That's why it requires trade-off during the design, implementations, and evaluations of the program. I guess what we heard from the previous resource, Mbak Isna, we could hear that maybe it sounds fascinating, the program, but unfortunately, on the ground, in the reality, we could see problems, issues here and there that actually reflects there's something wrong in the design implementations, and we are looking forward for the evaluations of the program. So basically, we need to see a very clear objective, targets, and modality for feeding, as well as the cost. We know that the government has a very huge cost, like more than 20 billion US dollar. That's a lot, much large than the budget of our education and health itself, and so on and so forth. And school feeding element, including MBG, free nutritious meal, what I've learned from each country experiences, coalitions of school meals across nations, I guess should have at least 4 major and critical components: education, health, nutrition, agriculture, community development, and empowerment. Probably some of you thought that, oh, well, when I go to the MBG documents or the designs or whatever you read from the MBG websites, for example, or even the government regulations, maybe you could see a very sophisticated documents, objectives, targets, including the budget allocations. But unfortunately, we don't see, in reality, we don't see the materialize of the sophisticated idea. So I guess that's the problem. So now I'm gonna share the best practice, what's going on in the world, what are best practice. So first of all, so school meal programs or program serupa MBG yang berhasil itu biasanya diberikan secara gratis. So universal free provision. So free school meal, meaning that the government has the budget, the government provide 100% of the budget. When I speaking about the government, it's not only the central governments, but there's some distributions. There's some shared responsibility between centers and regional atau in Indonesia context, pemerintah pusat, pemerintah daerah share their budget allocation to support the implementations of school lunch program. For example, in Finland, the government has provided free school meal to all students from preschool to K-12 hingga SMA, lulus SMA since 1948. There's no problem. Similar, Indonesia also, I guess, President Prabowo, he committed to allocate a huge amount of budget to support free provisions, provisions of the MBG, the program MBG. And then, so this is great, but then there's other element that the government needs to pay attention. So secondly, food education integrations. I guess this is what we need to pay more attention. So 80% of school meal programs globally, those that are successful, they usually paired with food provisions with nutrition educations to teach healthy eating habits. So it's not only giving the food itself. So it's not only about providing the meal itself for school children, or in Indonesia context, it's also, they expand the beneficiaries to pregnant women, breastfeeding women, and many other beneficiaries. So basically, the idea of school lunches is actually not only to improve the health status of the younger generations, but also to support, to integrate them, to support their academic performance at school, but not only by presenting the foods, but also giving them education about what you eat. Like, for example, they integrate in Finland as well. They integrate the food educations within the program. So it's not a standing alone school lunch program, but schools or the Department of Educations, they create a specific curriculums on healthy eating, and physical educations. Because food alone, I don't think it would work to support the health or health outcomes for the generations. Local sourcing requirements, I guess it's another important element. So I guess Anna later might speak more about Brazil program. So Brazil National School Feeding Program mandates at least 30%, correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, 30% of food must come from local family farms, which it makes sense. The aim is to strengthen local economies and ensure fresh, cultural appropriate meals. I guess this idea is the ideal idea, and it's been practicing, it's been implementing in some countries, including Japan and some other country. So supporting local family is the idea. It's not like, I mean, in Indonesia, we could see from Mbak Isna presentations that we could see the use of ultra-processed food or the use of packaged food. While Indonesia is recognized as, we are very fortunate as we are a tropical country, so we can harvest all year long, right? We don't have 4 seasons just like in the US and in the European countries. So we are fortunate enough. And so why don't we just use local fresh foods? So because this is a part, the critical part of the successful best practice from some other countries. Children participations. One interesting practice implementation is from Japan. Actually, Japanese school lunch program involves students in serving and cleaning up. So this is a great idea. So student is not only there at school eating, like sitting, and then they somebody will give out the food and then they eat. No, they serve and they clean up the food. So it's another education, another table manner educations for the students, fostering responsibility, appreciation for food, and then as a result, almost 100% participations in elementary school across Japan. Nutritionist involvement. This is also quite critical. So according to the USDA report, US Department of Agriculture and Global Child Nutrition Foundation's reports, the most recent one in 2024, more than 69% of school meal programs globally engage nutritionists in the design, management, and implementations and evaluations. When you specifically, I would like to focus on the way Indonesian government name the program, the school lunch program. This is free nutritious meal. So it is imperative to involve a meaningful, not only nutritionist, but well-informed, well-aware nutritionists in the design and implementations, as well as evaluations of the program Makan Bergizi Gratis. Right, so I guess I would like to add a little more. I guess I talk about Finland. They have a universal, high quality, free school meals and integrated into educations. Japan, again, they have long-standing center program with very strict nutrition standard, communal serving, eating, nutrition education. Japan also integrate the school lunch programs with nutrition educations in the education curriculum. And then South Korea, I found that they have high coverage, nutrition standards, and integrations with health services, rapid scale up most 1980s and accompanied by strong monitoring. So again, evaluation, monitoring is also part of a critical component alongside with well-designed and implementations of the program. Oh, I wanted to mention that in Japan, Finland, South Korea, and also in Canada, they actually they are not only integrated the school meal programs with educations, with health and dietary educations, but they also follow the dietary their national nutrition guideline. I think we have from Kemenkes, from the Ministry of Health, Indonesia actually has the dietary guidelines, gizi seimbang. Saya kira itu juga modal yang sangat baik untuk mengikuti jejak negara-negara yang sudah melakukan memiliki kesuksesan dalam mengimplementasikan program makan bergizi gratis, jadi perlu diintegrasikan kembali lagi and going back to the recommendations from the Kementerian Kesehatan. Nah, tapi kemudian bagaimana yang tidak sukses? Bagaimana kegagalan atau yang perlu ditingkatkan itu yang seperti apa? So, countries showing unsuccessful or problematic school lunch outcome usually.
Sorry, Dr. Irma, you have 5 minutes left.
Sounds good. Okay. Usually from low-income countries with low coverage and quality. So low coverage mean the government cannot provide, cannot allocate the full support financially to support the implementation of programs. I guess Indonesia, fortunately, we have huge budgets, one more time. But then the fall pits also about the use of the high use of ultra-processed food. So program with poor nutritional quality and high ultra-processed food presence usually they would be unsuccessful. For example, the rates of obesity, there are so many studies. Like, for example, in the US alone, there's so many studies, long cohort studies, found that significant correlations between packaged and ultra-processed food in school meal programs and obesity in those who in the beneficiaries of the school program. Lastly, operational failures, inequities in some large federated countries. For example, this is when I talk consistent implement in part of in the context of U.S. budget cut, food safety, supply chain shocks, and so on and so forth. But I could correlate this. I guess this is relevant to the management, the involvement of SPPG, the quality of management operationalizations of the school meals programs through SBG dan masing-masing dapur di masing-masing sekolah. Okay, I guess another important part I wanted to highlight here, actually, meal program must be well aligned with key goals in food systems. We talk about supporting local farmers. We talk about cultural appropriate. We talk about school curriculum integrations between school meal programs and education system. So we actually talking about, we wanted to see a healthy food system. So first of all, we need to ensure access to healthy diets for everyone. And for sure, we all know healthy diets comes from the real foods, not from packaged foods, not from processed and ultra processed food, which we know that it has a higher level of calories. Secondly, supporting robust livelihood across the food system. Again, we are talking about our farmers. We are talking about fisheries. We are talking about local food that could, we don't need to standardize the menu, but we could also see the local food and then use them, integrate them as at the menu, as the meal for the free nutritious meal program. Preserving intact lands while resorting degraded area. So I guess when we use local diets, so it means that we could also respect the local land. So that way we save our land, we save our environment. That way farmers will be able to keep harvesting, will be able to keep planting. So those kind of system is a very strong and very important concept, idea that maybe some of us who live in urban area and who live in modern or postmodern eras, maybe we kind of like sometimes forgotten that we really need to save the environment by consuming the real foods. Promoting environmentally sustainable food productions, I guess I'm talking about the same thing, and building resilient food system that ensure food and nutrition security both in immediate and long-term systems. So by implementing these 5 key goals in food system and adopting this into the implementations and the designs of MBG, I guess we would see the successful of the implementations of MBG. I want to touch upon this, just one thing. Monitoring and impact measurement gaps is very critical. I heard that Indonesian government is currently planning for doing the monitoring of MBG. I guess this is a great idea. And we should appreciate it. But I think as soon as or before actually the programs established, we should have the monitoring planning in place rather than waiting until a year of the implementations. I guess maybe I'll stop there. I'll go back when we have some question later in the end of the sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Irma, for your very robust thought and perspectives. Seperti tadi sudah dijanjikan ya, bahwa saya akan switch sedikit dalam bahasa Indonesia mengenai poin-poin yang disampaikan oleh Dr. Irma. Tadi sudah disampaikan mengapa banyak negara memiliki program serupa dan sukses seperti best practice seperti di Finland, Jepang, Korea Selatan, Brazil, dan Inggris misalnya, karena ada critical components yakni well design dan evaluasi yang rigorous, dan di bagian ini kita rasa MBG masih memiliki banyak catatan. Kemudian mengapa di belahan bumi yang lain banyak program serupa itu tidak sukses seperti di berbagai low income countries, karena beberapa faktor, diantaranya adalah kualitas yang tidak terstandardisasi, yaitu banyak sekali ditemukan inkonsisten dalam kualitas pangannya. Yang kedua, kualitas nutrisi makanan, banyak sekali menggunakan UPF, ultra processed food, kemudian berbagai kesalahan dalam operasional dan ketimpangan dalam berbagai sektor kehidupan lain yang justru diabaikan dengan trade-off untuk menjadikan program ini berjalan. Kemudian apa yang harus ditegakkan misalnya untuk membuat program ini sukses? Dr. Irma juga sampaikan bahwa perlu adanya keselarasan program dengan tujuan sistem pangan secara terintegrasi gitu. Jadi yang pertama memastikan healthy diet, komposisi dan kualitas makanan seimbang, kemudian penguatan sistem pangan, memaksimalkan rantai pasok lokal, pangan lokal, melestarikan lahan yang sekaligus untuk memulihkan area yang terdegradasi, kemudian produksi pangan yang berkelanjutan, membangun sistem pangan yang tangguh untuk dalam jangka panjang. Dan kita buka sesi Q&A, short Q&A. Jadi saya persilakan kepada Bapak Ibu audiens untuk menyampaikan pertanyaannya secara langsung dengan mengklik toolbar raise hand atau menuliskan komentarnya di chat box sebelum kita beralih ke presentasi selanjutnya. Jika tidak ada, pertanyaan bisa tetap disampaikan di kolom komentar. Nanti pada akhir sesi kita akan bahas secara general. Dan sekali lagi terima kasih sampaikan kepada Dr. Irma atas paparannya. And now we can move to the next. We have Dr. Ya, ada pertanyaan, silahkan. Atas nama Noel.
Betul.
Silahkan disampaikan pertanyaannya.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry I can't open my camera because I'm still working now. So probably I just speak it out. Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question for Dr. Rima, this presentation is so great, and I'm very delightful to see this all presentation. From your presentation, as I've seen that there's a lot of several countries that implemented successfully, and most of them are from developed country, which is like the Finland, the US, and what else? The UK as well, right? So, do you think, Dr. Irma, is it like compatible if you compare from Indonesia? Like, if we implement this like social program such as lunch program, is it compatible if you compare to the US, which is they have like money, more resources, and then we compare to Indonesia, and I don't know which country that Indonesia has learned from. Like, do we have like any benchmark to learn from? But do we think that is it if we apply like from certain countries and then we learn from a developed countries, is it like applicable? If we see that like Indonesia is one of the biggest archipelago countries in the world, if we compare to Finland, they're very small and it's easy for them, like in terms of logistics as well, like deliveries. Well, if we compare like in Maluku, we can't compare just like that, right? So what do you think about that, Doctor? Thank you.
Mbak Atina, do I have to respond directly or do we wait until we have?
If you can, Dr. Irma.
Sounds good. Terima kasih, Pak Nul. That's a great question. I guess I would say. So first of all, my response is it is an apple to apple. It's not only about the wealth nation. It's not. Is it about the small country? I mean, the geographical areas. Probably, yes, it is not apple to apple. But I shared earlier. Elements that determines the success of school meal programs is actually, first of all, budget. So let's talk about budget. Budget, when you say Finland, when you say the US is not quite successful in implementing school meal programs. So US still has, its ups and downs of their school meal programs because it's still problematic because it's at a certain level, it's still a cost, or it's still we still have obesity problems. When we based on the studies, those who receive school lunch is actually we can see an increase in obesity study. So we know the pitfalls. What is it? It's the use of high calories components, high calorie foods. So ultra processed foods are dominated in the school lunch programs here in the US, for example. But in Finland, in Canada, in Japan, what do? They are not only support almost 100%, the government provide the budget, but also they use local food. They work with the local community, not SPPG. They work with local community, with ibu-ibu, with komunitas penduduk setempat, to empower them to support their small businesses, and then recognize them, acknowledge them, and then integrate them, welcome them into school meal programs. That is part of when I say apple to apple. We don't have like that here. We kind of like doing seperti menjalankan bisnis program, tetapi budgetnya full dari pemerintah, namun pengelolaannya kita tidak menghormati petani, kita tidak menghormati nelayan dan lain sebagainya, tidak menggunakan makanan lokal. Satu itu. Yang kedua itu. Lalu yang keempat adalah tadi menyampaikan bahwa seperti Ambon. Nah, di situ adalah kuncinya. Jadi Indonesia is an archipelago of countries. So why don't we decentralize the management, so the central government should be able to think about the grand designs, and it's not only talking about focus on MBG, but also should integrate MBG and teaching or education's curriculum. So that way the regional government, pemerintah daerah, bisa mengimplementasikan atau bisa mempraktekkan integrasi tersebut berdasarkan kearifan lokal, dan ini bisa dikelola oleh masing-masing sekolah. So we don't need to see keracunan dan lain sebagainya karena kelamaan dari pusat SPPG-nya, kelamaan dan kebanyakan untuk serving banyak sekolah. If we more sub-decentralize the program, I guess that would be better. What we have apple to apple is actually the budget that the government committed. It's quite huge, it's too much. But then unfortunately, the other critical components, it's not as apple to apple to the successful programs in other countries. Moga-moga ini menjawab ya Pak Nul ya. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Pak Noel and Bu Irma, for really meaningful questions and answer. But I'm so sorry, I think we need to proceed to the next, though I'm still seeing some hands are raising. And we have a little adjustment because we now will proceed to directly to Dr. Tan, as I think that we might all agree that nutrition quality is at the heart of the school feeding program. But however, the large scale implementation often creates incentives to rely on ultra processed food, UPF. That is what happened with MBG. And now ada Ibu Dr. Tan Shotien, a senior nutrition practitioner, very popular in Indonesia, who will reflect on the risks associated with UBF that is unfortunately very omnipresent in the daily menu of MBG today. Ibu, kita ada 15 menit untuk paparan presentasi dan setelahnya akan ada very short Q&A. Saya persilahkan kepada Dr. Tan Shotien. The stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and maybe good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. So I just want to make it short. Let me share my presentation. All right, so I'm in the middle of something. All right, Atina, can you see my presentation? Sorry, Atina.
Yes, it's not there.
Is it there?
You can see it.
You can see it. All right. So the title is a little bit provocating: Indonesian free school meal, a review on what to chew. All right. So let me adjust to the initial. So initially, the Mr. President would like to have the short term, the midterm, and the long term. As you can see that during the short term, it is the initial objective is just to fulfill of daily intake of the school children. So it is targeted to the school children for the first time. And then in the midterm, of course, such let's say after 3 months or so, hopefully we could see the improved nutritional status. And within a certain period of time, after a long term, let's say after 10 years. So it's a very long-term program that human capital quality by the year 2045. So that is the 100th independence of the Indonesian independence anniversary. We can see that hopefully we can have the capital.
Sorry, Dr. Tan. We have a little problem, I guess, with the connection. It's a bit on and off, your voice. Do we still have Dr. Tan in the room?
I think Dr. Tan is left. Maybe she has connection problem.
Okay, maybe we can wait for a couple of minutes upon her returns, and reminding all the audience that you can drop your comments, questions on the chat box. You can also mention the particular speaker that you want to address. And by the end of the session, we'll have a bit of wrap up and general discussion. I think we have Dr. Tan here.
Yeah,
again.
sorry. Something's just going on. I don't know. So this is not my office. This is not my home. So there must be something. I don't know. Let me continue with this.
Yes, it
Am
can
I
happen.
allowed? Okay,
Could you
right.
please
Okay.
share your
Yeah,
presentation?
sure. Is it now on the screen now?
Yes, it's on the screen right now.
Okay, that's nice. All right, so sorry everyone. Initially, so prior to this program, so we can see that there is a submission of the technical direction provided by the National Nutrition Agency. Jadi pada awalnya Badan Gizi Nasional itu sudah mempunyai yang disebut sebagai petunjuk teknis ya, yang sebetulnya tidak semua orang dapatkan, tetapi petunjuk teknis itu ada. And there is a phrase there that the education of nutrition and food it should be given by the deputy of the promotion and the collaborating of the National Nutrition Agency with the social media. Anyway, so and also initially the Ministry of Health itself also have the standardized food and nutrition guidelines. As you can see as well, that there are so many ministries, including the Ministry of Education, also submitted the technical implementation guidelines. So basically, initially, this program should be considered as safe. And what we have here, the problem is that after a certain period of time, setelah berjalan dengan sekian waktu, it proves to be that these all guidelines, it seems like it's collided, the Badan Gizi Nasional is collided with the already existed guidelines. Let's say for under 2-year-old guidelines, you can see here it is established by the Ministry of Health, and also it is also collided with the government regulation itself, which mentioned that prohibition of the free sample of breast milk substitute, offer or direct selling of formula, concession bonus on formula purchase, influence of medical personnel, health providers, public figures, and social media to disseminate formulas on all breast milk substitutes. And also it is prohibited to have the cross promotion of food products interfering formulas in all breast milk substitute, because we also have the ethnic problem, like we as a population of Southeast Asia, we are very much aware that 80 to 100% of our population is lactose intolerant. But you can see what the fact shows. Yet the fact shows that it is being distributed throughout the nations. All the food, all the packages that you can see on the screen. And since we are lactose intolerant, now there is a very strange package consisting of liquid, I can say liquid, that consists only 30% of the fresh milk. And it is distributed throughout the nations. And what more, and there are lots of screenshots I can find that so many complaints from the public. And since it is not well accepted by the students, so sometimes the free meal is not consumed. So they repacked it, and it's as a gift for their pets back at home, even for the chicken. And the problem with those people living very close to the beachfront, they are not even given what we call the fresh fish or even the seafood. It is very saddening. And also they receive very cheap ultra processed food, such as they say it's a Tango brand, and the milk is only 8%. And yeah, and there are so many complaints, and on and on and on, and it consists of lots of ultra processed food everywhere. And they are just being open to say wherever they are, even in central Java, and also in throughout of the nation. And salted eggs is also being distributed to the children. And you can see that in West Java, it is also given this kind of products. I hardly can say it's food. So where is the education? Because as the nutritionist, this is a comment by the nutritionist. So sebagai ahli gizi, ada orang yang sedih, and dia mengatakan bahwa dia seperti kayak ada perang batin. So there is a conflict within himself. That most of the children is when it's being when the local menu is being given, usually the children in the community is not well received, because they are so used to having foreign food like crispy chicken and some ultra processed food, of course. And in your left, this is the My Plate image. Actually, this is the initial My Plate image done by the Ministry of Health. But what the Badan Gizi Nasional does, actually, our carbs is being changed into the Western wheat, which is very, very weird, because wheat itself is not grown in Indonesia. And okay, let's talk to the core. So the core is talking about the UPF. What is the danger? So actually, the terminology of ultra processed food actually is changed by years. So the practical way to identify an ultra processed product is to check to see if its list of ingredients contains at least one item characteristic of the novel ultra processed food group, which is to say either food substances never already used in the kitchen, such as when you have the high fructose corn syrup in your product. So even though there is only one substance with high fructose corn syrup, so it should be considered as ultra processed food. And what about the long-term impacts? So ultra processed food long-term impacts consist of obesity, of course, as being addressed by Dr. Irma just now, and nutritional deprivation during growing and developing years, and trigger of the NCD non-communicable diseases such as diabetes type 2, hypertension, and metabolic syndromes. Avoidable, accessible, palatable, and designed to meet the addiction. So the ultra-processed food actually well, it says like it's being it's like a supporting item of national economic growth, which is, for me, it's very false, and directed to the low middle class with limited health literacy. And all the dangers are being mentioned are also demonstrated in lots of manuscripts, lots of studies, and you can see there are some recent studies on the effect of ultra processed food. And also in contradiction to higher we are hoping from the children, ultra processed food also interfere the academic performance. So the more consumption of ultra processed food, the less cognitive the more cognitive decline is demonstrated. And also from the JAMA networks, from Harvard Health Publishing, and also the all the well-known research journals says that early death is foreseen if the ultra processed food is being consumed for a long time. And there is a very interesting study in England, in the United Kingdom. It says that the impact of the childhood experience and adult well-being on eating preferences and behaviors. It says that daily intake of fruit and vegetable are also impaired, because it is linked to the non-communicable diseases and preference for feel-good foods, linked to obesity, and so on and so on. So there are a very profound studies conducted by most of the scientists throughout the world, that the impact of the ultra processed food not only directly affect the human body, but also the human preferences and the child references to their daily intake of food. And let's go back to a more scientific issues of this ultra processed food. So there are 8 sabotages that you can see against the immunity system. Added sugar, talking about added sugar, also hidden sugar in ultra processed food, it may impair the body to fight inflammatory proteins like alpha TNF and C-reactive protein and IL-6. And high blood sugar also inhibits white blood cells responses. high blood sugar creates imbalanced gut bacteria, and also food high in salt, also it has similar impact like its counterpart, the high sugar products, which inhibits the immune response and worsen the autoimmune diseases. And what about the fried stuff? Usually the fried stuff contain lots of omega-6 products and has been associated with increased risk and immune dysfunction. And too much plant-based products increase the omega-6, and fried products also high in advanced glycation products to promote inflammation, deplete antioxidant mechanism, including cellular dysfunction and affecting gut bacteria. And also processed and chopped meats, as if you can see in deep fried or even what you call it, the preserved food, high in ages, very high also in saturated fat and very low unsaturated fats. How about the fast food? Apart from highly processed content, fast food can contain phthalates and isonyl phthalates from plastic packaging and gloves, and also certain additives may also impair immune system as well. And what more, like refined carbohydrates increase production of free radicals and inflammatory proteins, alter the gut bacteria that negatively affect immune system. Okay, so on contrary, we also can offer very much so many varieties of healthy and tasty Indonesian menu across the archipelago. So you can see we have lots of menus dealing with eggs. Jadi menu-menu tentang telur banyak sekali dari Sabang sampai Merauke. Kita sudah punya begitu bagus ya. Jadi begitu enak dan we cannot find in any other part of the world. We have lots of menus using eggs. And also, wow, talking about fish. So 2/3 part of the Indonesian region consists of water, the sea water. So you can see there are lots of fish menus that can be also adopted as the MG, makan bergizi gratis, menu makan bergizi gratis. Well, talking about chicken, meats, poultry, and other meats, we also have lots, tons of Indonesian menu that can be served as healthy and very tasty as well as the part of the makan bergizi gratis. So talking about the public choices, we can see there are at least we can find like 5 most important contribution to the public choices. The first one is talking about the nature. So what lacks in Indonesian nature? We have lots of diversities in nature that can serve as our very healthy food. And nurture, talking about nurture, we have background and ethnic as an Asian. So then nurture and culture combined with lots of nature, diverse nature, we can also develop lots of advantages in the future. And what more, if we elevate education in our country, starting from children entering the primary school or even the kindergarten, deal with good policy, and the public choices of the Indonesians actually is very we can just have our thumbs up as the healthiest public choices throughout the world. Okay, but so probably I'm not going to say more about this, so I'll go back to sorry, I return to my presentation to Athena. Sorry for
Thank you so much, Dr. Tan. You finish it really
Yes.
on time.
Okay.
Ya, jadi Dr. Tan tadi sudah sampaikan berbagai hal ya, bahwa bahkan nutritional adequacy is not only just about calories, but also about long-term health outcomes, especially for children development. Jadi banyak sekali yang disoroti oleh Dr. Tan, kebijakan yang saling tumpang, bertabrakan, kemudian banyaknya pemangku kebijakan yang terlibat dengan alokasi tugas dan tanggung jawab yang tidak jelas dan juga tidak transparan, dan diperparah dengan banyaknya UPF di menu keseharian MBG, komposisi nilai gizinya yang tidak sesuai standar. Kemudian disampaikan pula oleh Dr. Tan bahaya dari UPF baik dari jangka pendek, menengah maupun jangka panjang, UPF yang tinggi gula, tinggi garam, tinggi minyak, saturated fat particularly, kemudian bahan aditif atau tambahan yang mengganggu atau yang tadi disebut melakukan sabotase sistem imun kita ya. Dan apa yang sebetulnya ditawarkan oleh beliau banyak sekali menu lokal dari telur misalnya yang paling murah misalnya dari Sabang sampai Merauke kita semua makan telur sekarang ini. Kemudian menu ikan karena negara kita negara seharusnya penghasil pangan laut, sumber pangan laut, dan kemudian menu ayam dan daging, menu lokal kita juga, kita adalah negeri berjuta soto dari barat sampai ke timur. Dan saya mungkin buka short Q&A bagi kawan-kawan yang ingin bertanya langsung kepada Dr. Tan. Silahkan bisa mengklik tombol raise hand atau drop questions on the chat box.
Yeah, Atina, just to make it short and just to make it fast, there is a question, a very interesting one from Febiani Putri on the chat. Column. Okay, so I'm considering about the question like this. She said, she mentioned there is a pediatric specialist from the University of Indonesia that mentioned sugar in milk can be tolerated as long as the child does not consume sugar from other sources. So how can you be so sure? How can you guarantee that children loving so much sweetened beverages, including milk, they do not consume any other stuff like snacks and sweetened consumption? So in my humble opinion, so milk should not be sweetened. Milk should be served the way it is, as it is also mentioned by WHO and the UNICEF. And what more interesting about WHO in its recommendation, I can say to you that from the recommendation provided by the WHO, it says that over 12 months old, by the first year when the child is already entered the first year, so milk is not necessarily, as long as there is some other sources of animal protein provided. And what more, Indonesian people are just lactose intolerant right now. So it is very much impossible for us to consume milk just because the other people from the other children from the other part of the world consume milk. So for me, it is what we call the gastrocolonialism. Thank you, Atina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tan. Were there any direct questions from the audience? We can have another one question.
No?
Oh ya, ya mungkin di chat box ada Ibu Nancy yang bercerita tentang bagaimana menu di MBG itu hanya beberapa iris kentang. Ini juga mungkin salah satu evidence based. Ada satu lagi dari Bapak Bayu, mungkin saya persilahkan. This is the last question for this presentation. Silakan Pak Bayu, bisa di-unmute.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Aros, yang terhormat Bu Shot, yang terhormat Bu Isi, yang terhormat Prof. Liza.
Silakan langsung ke pertanyaannya Pak Bayu.
Salam kenal. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Saya Ahmad Bayu Aryawan, alumni Fakultas Peternakan Univ Halo Oleo Kendari Sultra. Ini mohon izin bertanya kepada semua karena mohon maaf tadi terlambat karena ada satu urusan. Sebayu sangat terinteres tentang bagaimana ini bagaimana expertise terhadap menu, kualitas menu yang mungkin saya sudah beberapa kali melihatnya itu harus, kebetulan Bayu punya S2 riset, insya Allah lebih ke arah situ. Jadi tertarik dengan bagian tentang kualitas menu ini. Yang jadi pertanyaannya seperti ini, ibu-ibu semuanya, bagaimana meningkatkan pengembangan preparasi menu itu berdasarkan pada bagaimana kebutuhan bahan-bahan bakunya hingga sampai kepada distribusi kepada pengembangan menu. Artinya dari semua tahap-tahap itu perlu mengedepankan pada transparansi menu yang bermanfaat dan sesuai prinsipnya, yaitu bergizi dan tidak lagi menjadi kondisi yang bermasalah besar seperti saat ini. Kemudian yang terakhir, Bu, ada
satu pertanyaan saja Pak Bayu karena waktu kita terbatas.
Ya, Bu.
Terima kasih Pak Bayu. Silakan Dokter Tan, bisa ditanggapi mungkin lebih bagaimana
saya pakai bahasa Indonesia saja ya. Jadi memang selayaknya, itu sudah selayaknya, karena itu kenapa kita menggunakan istilah adanya ahli gizi. Jadi ahli gizi itu yang akan menyusun menu sedemikian rupa, mestinya bukan pengawas gizi yang bisa diisi oleh siapa saja jabatannya, karena itu adalah jabatan fungsional ya. Jadi sekali lagi, kalau kita semua sudah terlanjur punya SPPG, tentu ahli gizi yang akan berwenang untuk menentukan kira-kira menu seperti apa yang bisa dirancang sesuai dengan penerima manfaat. Itu yang pertama. Dan yang kedua, sebetulnya kalau misalkan MBG ini mau diselenggarakan sebagai kantin sehat sekolah seperti yang terjadi di sekolah-sekolah Muhammadiyah di Solo, di Surakarta, bekerja sama dengan Dinkes, bekerja sama dengan Puskesmas, sekaligus menjadi pengawas, tentu akan menjadi baik sekali. Jadi sekali lagi, barangkali dalam hal ini kapasitas saya hanya bisa menjawab seperti itu. Kembali kepada Atina, terima kasih banyak. Barangkali saya harus undur diri, mohon maaf, karena saya berada di tempat orang, di Sekolah Tinggi Filsafat Driarkara. Jadi saya nebeng tempat, saya nebeng wifi, dan terima kasih banyak teman-teman. Kita akan jumpa lagi lain kali.
Terima kasih sekali lagi kami sampaikan ke Dokter Tan. Semoga sukses ke depannya. Yes, all questions can be dropped in the chat box, and later in the general discussions, if we still have time, we're gonna talk about this later soon. And now I think we have to proceed to the next. We're gonna have Dr. Ana Luisa Domingos, a researcher and consultant based from Brazil. Now is based in France, and she will share lessons of both the design and implementation, entails in how its governance arrangements, quality of the food, also about food safety, procurements, and the transparency that happens in Brazil. So for Dr. Ana Luisa, you have 15 minutes to present your ideas.
Thank you very much, Atina. So good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for this invitation. So today I will share key lessons from the Brazilian National School Feeding Program and how school meals can work not only as a nutrition policy, but as education, social protection, and local development policy. So thank you, Dr. Emer, for mentioning the Brazilian program earlier. So next, please. So school feeding, it's much more than food distribution. So it improves nutrition, support learning, protects vulnerable children and teenagers, and also stimulates local economy. So the program, the school feeding program, it's a powerful tool to reduce inequalities. So it includes also for us in Brazil, the food and nutrition education. It's a super strong pillar on our program. So Brazil runs one of the largest public feeding programs. So it serves around 40 million students in more than 155,000 schools, providing 50 million meals every school day. So we use 200 school days to calculate the program, so the framework. So this scale shows that universal free school feeding is possible, even in a large and unequal country like Brazil. So next, please. Now let's see how it works. So the program covers all the students in public basic education. So we have federal funds are transferred directly to states and municipalities. So states and municipalities, they can add more budget on the program. So local governments implement the meals and often add their own resource to complement, as I mentioned, and the budget. So while the federal level coordinates the monitors. So we have the implementation, it's a local implementation. So in Brazil, we combine national funding with local execution. So, and to manage all this program, so we have the National Fund for Education Development linked to the Ministry of Education. So the program is under the Ministry of Education. And yeah, we have FNDE to coordinate the budget. So next, please. So school feeding in Brazil, it has a long history. So we start this conversation in 1940s to fight malnutrition and became a national program in 1979. And in 1988, it was super important because we recognized as a constitutional right. So this legal protection is key for continuity of the program across different governments that we have. So during this process, two policy milestones were especially transformative for the program. So we have in 2009, we have the law, so the P9 law, the program law, that formally regulates the program. So we guarantee in this law the universal coverage, and also the requirement that at least 30% of the food must be purchased from family farmers. So this was game changers. School feeding became not only a nutrition policy, but also a local development strategy, supporting small-scale farmers and local economies. Second, in 2020, a new resolution is trying to improve the nutrition standards and food quality of this project, of this program. So aligning menus with the national dietary guidelines and evidence, of course, evidence-based recommendation. So in Brazil, we combine two priorities, so supporting local production and ensuring health meals. So that's our priority there. Next, please. So a little bit about the governance. As I mentioned, funding is federal, but the implementation is local. So, I mean, the municipalities, they manage menus, kitchens, and staff. So this creates some kind of flexibility to adapt to culture and local foods, and while keeping the national standards. So one thing that's super important to mention here is that funds are earmarked exclusively for school meals. So including food purchase, preparation, and staff. So we have to handle the budget on this way. Next, please. So this homegrown approach, as Dr. Irma mentioned, connects schools directly with local farmers. So, and just recently, at the end of the last year, actually 2025, so this commitment was strained. So the minimum was increased to 45%. We have to buy from local farmers. So it's not longer 30%, it's 50%, 45%, starting in January 2026. So we have a gender component also in regulation. It prioritizes women, indigenous, and traditional communities like in the Quilombola communities in this process of procurement of food. Also, the outcome that we hope is like a fresher food, a shorter supply chain, and income generation in rural areas. So that's the way we envision this process. So also, I'm not gonna say as a innovation, but we also have the School Feeding and Nutrition Collaboration Center we call SECANI. So Secani, it's based within universities. So we have a lot of Secanis split in Brazil, and provides technical and operational support for the program. So this is a super important partnership with the universities. So we train nutritionists, school feeding councils member, and we develop guide materials, and also research on everything that we have in the program. So during the program. Next, please. As I saw that we mentioned food qualities, it's super important component on the program. So menus are planned by nutritionists and follow the national dietary guidelines. Not just the national guidelines, but we have also a guideline for children under 2 years old. So we follow both to plan the menus. So the focus is on fresh and minimally processed food. In Brazil, we use the NOVA classification to assess the food that we can purchase. So ultra-processed foods are, ultra-processed products actually are restricted. So we have new regulations from last year that to control the purchase. So processed food are being reduced year by year, and school must purchase a wide diversity of fresh food. So what it means, we reduce into last year we have 20% of the food of the budget we can purchase ultra processed food. We reduce to 50%. And this year we are going to limit to 10% of the purchase of the food. And also municipalities must purchase at least 50 different types of fresh or minimally processed food each year. So it's a huge biodiversity improvement of the program. So next, please. Strong social control, it's important for Brazil. It's another super important pillar for us. So we have school feeding councils, especially with civil society participation, to monitor spending and food quality. So there are audits and mandatory reporting in all the process of the program. We also use digital tools. So we use an app. It calls Epini. Yeah, it's an app which helps monitor and evaluate menus. So we can upload photos and assess the menu that was served, and we can bookmark the school that we are talking about. So, and also it serves as a direct communication channel for the program. Next, please. We also have a school meals watch. It's an initiative from the civil society. And there we published policy briefs, research. We have news on what we have on resolutions and decrees related to PNI. And the last campaign that they are leading is in defense of an annual and permanent adjustment for school meals, because the program lost almost 50% of purchasing power since 2010. So that's something that we are, as civil society, we are fighting about.
We still have 5 minutes.
Yes, I'm just finishing. Thank you. So school feeding for us is more than nutrition. For sure, it's also culture. So in Brazil, we have an initiative. It's a TV program. It's like a reality show. It seems like a MasterChef. We call it Sabores, is school of flavoring. So, and highlight local recipes and traditional foods, celebrating the work of school cooks, nutritionists, and managers. So, including those from indigenous people. So, the last season, we are in the first season. So, the last season, it's about indigenous, quilombola, and riverside communities. And you can see it's on YouTube under the Ministry of Education channel and also the FNDE. But also in open television, so it's super important for us because it builds public awareness and pride for and recognize all the work that those people are doing for school feeding in Brazil. Next, please. So of course we have a lot of challenges. There has been a lot of loss of purchasing power, as I mentioned. Also infrastructure gap, because we are such a diverse country. It's kind of different to run a program like this in the capital, so in São Paulo, or in a big city, and then in a remote area. So the logistic, that's why the implementation is local, because we have to adjust the logistic to be able to achieve the outcome. So implementation quality is not equal everywhere. That's for sure. We keep improving this. So continuing investments and political commitment is essential for this process. But my main message here from Brazil is first, I think, treat school feeding as a right. That's something for me. It's the number one. Second, connect meals with local farmers. We are doing this. It's working. And third, set strong nutrition standards together with food and nutrition education. So it's a combination that it's a successful combination. And fourth, ensure transparency and community participation. So civil society and all the hands that we have in the country to help to this is the success of this program. So together, I think these elements make the program sustainable and also transformative. So school feeding can be a powerful lever for nutrition, education, and local development at the same time. So we believe that that we can achieve this. So Brazil experience shows that scale and quality can go together. So thank you very much, and I look forward for the discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for the excellent presentations. Yeah, lesson learned from Brazil. I think we all agree that a school feeding programs is beyond just distributing meals. It must be a culture on collectivism. And and bagaimana ini bisa dijalankan di Brazil? Yang pertama adalah shared funding, but beyond funding juga tugas monitoring yang dikerjakan bersama ya. Jadi poin pentingnya ada di desentralisasi, tidak hanya di level kebijakan, bahkan juga melibatkan sekolah dalam operasional, di mana sekolah juga membangun relasi langsung dengan petani lokal, pemasok bahan pangan untuk memangkas periode rantai pasok, kemudian kebijakan yang tegas terkait rantai pasok bahan pangan, di mana di Brazil bahan pangan harus berasal dari family farming, petani lokal, kemudian pelibatan perempuan, kelompok rentan, kelompok adat dalam berbagai dalam operasional dan juga penyediaan makanan. Kemudian menjaga kualitas makanan dan pemenuhan standar kesehatan dengan fresh menu, kemudian UPF sangat dibatasi, inspeksi keamanan pangan yang sangat ketat dan dalam rangka memenuhi standar diet nasional, dan yang paling penting juga akuntabilitas dan transparansi, di mana kontrol sosial perlu dikuatkan seperti di Brazil dengan dibuatnya berbagai school feeding councils dan community monitoring. Jadi ada aplikasi juga untuk bisa melaporkan secara langsung, juga dilibatkan evaluasi eksternal. Dan satu contoh yang bagus juga di Brazil juga dilakukan berbagai macam pengarus utamaan ya mengenai pentingnya nutrisi yang seimbang di school feeding program dengan adanya program TV. Kemudian meskipun demikian tidak berarti di Brazil tidak memiliki obstacles ya atau challenges karena juga terjadi turunnya daya beli, gap infrastructure dengan area yang sangat beragam, dengan kultur yang juga beragam, dan masih terdapat ketimpangan dalam implementasinya. Baik, kita akan buka sesi pertanyaan. I think we already have one person from Afghanistan that wants to ask in this session. Dr. Nasir Ahmad, are you there? You can unmute your Zoom and deliver your question to Anna.
Yeah, thank you so much for your informative and webinar. I am very happy to learn more about the nutrition and everything's the presentation done. Just the question from Dr. Anas regarding to the are there is or how could advancement in the agriculture practice and technology be to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the nutrition meals program in Brazil? And another two questions belong to Indonesia. Anyway, I want to hear from Dr. Anas. So thank you. I also put my question in the chat. Hope she also see that. Thank you. Over.
Yes, thank you for your question. So in Brazil, what I like most is that we have a combination of public policies. It's a basket of public policies. So regarding agriculture and small farmers, we have policies that improve the way they produce, the technology. So it's not, so we have PRONAF, we have public policies that related to agroecology to improve agroecological practices. So I think we are not alone, so that's a combination. It's an articulation of public policies. So that's we can spend a different seminar here just to explain the agriculture component, but we have improved this part also.
Thank you so much again for Anna. I think for now we can just open one question, and now I think we need to move to the next because due to the time, and I think we all might agree that nutrition's quality. I'm sorry. We are now on our final thematic presentation, and we're going to discuss about food safety, an issue that has long drawn significant public concern because even from the early stage of implementations of this program, the MBG, reports of food poisoning incidents been loaded. So we're pleased to welcome Dr. Grace Wange, who will discuss causes of food safety incidents, prevention measures, and policy consideration moving forwards, possibly also around improvement, standards, or maybe temporary suspension if necessary. Dr. Grace, you'll have 15 minutes, and I'll notify you when the time is remaining, 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you, Antina. Goedemorgen. It's good to see some Utrecht alumni here. Can I have my slides presented? Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we were entertained with very nice pictures of food, and but now I have to come to the bad pictures somehow about the food poisoning. So I titled my presentation as From Crisis to Control, Evidence-Based Food Safety Pathways for Indonesia School Meal Program. Next slide, please. And as a disclaimer, this presentation is totally evidence-based. I did not receive any funding regarding to the free meals program worldwide, and all analysis was done by me and my colleague, and does not reflect my university positions. Next slide. So most of my presentation today will be based on the recent paper that my colleague Henry Surendra and Arif Sujagat did on the food safety database. and it's just recently been accepted as a Lancet publications. So we try to map based on the Public Health Center Early Warning Alert and Hospital Registry data in 2025. And as you can see in this picture, the case of food poisoning due to the National Food Free Meal Program, or MBG, is actually happening in 33 provinces out of 38 provinces all over Indonesia. And until 13 December 2025, actually the database recording more than 20,000 cases of food poisoning. And this is kind of similar with the Celios data. And I think you record from the media reporting, which is about 15,000. So we don't discuss about the number difference here, but as you can see, the data will show a similar trends in terms of food poisoning related to MBG. And we found there is about 176 outbreaks, 0 deaths, thankfully, and it's involved 352 schools and 125 districts all over Indonesia. Unfortunately, we don't have data from 5 provinces, 3 provinces actually from Papua, Highland Papua, and South Papua, and also Central Papua. But as you can see here, no data doesn't mean there is no cases. So there is still an opportunity that this is actually an underreported data, and we actually have more cases of food poisoning due to MBG. And if you see the most province we have who has the most cases of food poisoning is come from West Java. And of course, this is the database from the hospital and public health registry. Next, please. Yeah, so based on that, we did our little data analysis and mitigation, and we found that based on the report, the cause of most outbreak was not confirmed. There are some laboratory investigation who confirm outbreaks that was caused by biological contaminants, which is including E. coli, Campylobacter, Salmonella, and Staphylococcus. So we, some of the report managed to identify the contaminants of the biological bacterial that has contaminated the food. But we also found that the case detection and mitigation efforts remain adequate as local district health office have not been involved in the program implementation and monitoring. So again, the data could be underreported. And then there was no specific guideline exist for surveillance, especially for healthcare workers, and also for them to do an outbreak detection or response, because most of the guidelines actually come directly from the National Nutrition Agency, or BGN, and there is no guideline that actually led to a collaboration within sectors, which is like, it's a bit difficult, I think, for the health workers who actually have kind of skills to detect these kind of cases of outbreaks to kind of go and then do their job according to the law and the thing that they were trained to be. Yeah. Okay, next. So I tried to did some digging on what kind of guidelines are actually available in the National Nutrition Agency. And I just updated this slide this morning, and I found that there are 9 actually guidelines or JUCNIS or technical guidance. They were updated, they were listed in the National Nutrition Agency or BGN website. Next. And from those 9, only 2 is actually kind of having some guidance related to food safety. The first guidance, which is released, the release date, I don't say it's released in the website, but I say like it was a release date based on the document, is on January 2025. It's called the General Pedoman Umum, or General Guidance of how you should do the free food nutritious meal programs. And the second guidelines related to food safety is regarding to the certification of the SPG member, or the unit, the kitchen unit members. And it was released, the document data released on June 2025. But I think if we follow the website from time to time, we know that this guideline was not listed according to the release date of the documents. So, but then thankfully by today it's there. Okay, next. Yeah. So as you can see, if we look based on each month where the food poisoning case is happening, the left side, the blue bar, are the data that we have from the public health early warning and hospital registry. We see that actually the food poisoning cases already happened since January. And then it's reached somehow a lot of cases in April and May. And then the peak of the food poisoning cases happening in September and October. This trend, although the number are different, also reported by several others institutions. I have put the GISD data on the right side in the red bar. And as you can, please don't look at the numbers because we can have the whole night discuss about the numbers. But if you see the trend is kind of similar. So what we see is, I think, and also in Celios documents, you also collect data from the mass media report. The similar trend of food poisoning is also happening. So it was so it's already happening since January, have some kind of increase in April and May. And then June, we have the specific of the certification data, supposedly. But then still, we have food poisoning data reached its peak on September and October. So that's question asked, like, how these guidelines were implemented, right? Because like the guidelines are there, but then why we even get even more food poisoning cases after the guideline was supposedly signed. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. So if you look further to the guidelines, because people were talking like, yeah, this is already an HICCP guidelines. Why don't we follow that, right? And there's also food safety guideline from WHO. So actually, if you look deeper to the National Nutrition Agency or BGN guidelines, we see that the concept of HACCP is already there. It's mentioned there, right? Which is good. I think when I look at the guideline from India, from midday meal program, and also from PINEA in Brazil, the implementation of HACCP is not really strongly suggested or even listed in the guidelines, because implementing HACCP is actually taking a lot of money. So it's an expensive implementation of HACCP, right? So I think the simple guideline is actually about the 5 safety procedure from WHO. That's the simplest guideline that people can implement at schools. So we see that in the BGN guideline or in the national agency guidelines, the HACCP are there, but then the implementation is kind of tired and conditional, meaning it will not be effective if the unit that need to implement the HACCP is not ready. So it really depends on the readiness of the unit of implementing the whole principle, the 7 principle framework of HACCP, which is not really it's probably difficult for a unit that is not really used to handling large mass food productions. That's what I want to say. Yeah, but actually, like if you dig deeper to the guideline, it's also even mentioned in the guideline how each unit who prepare the food, the SPPG, they must have a personnel actually overseeing the implementation of the food safety plan. So they have to develop a food safety plan, yeah, and it's based on the SSCP. So I don't know about this. Like we never look at this. Who's actually in each SPPG unit dedicated to as a food safety officer assigned per unit? Is it the same nutrition officer? If yes, then they have a lot of work to do per day. Yeah, because they have to think about the menu, they have to also monitor about the food safety, and then they have to do daily monitoring and also all the reporting for food safety. So this is something that we have to also think whether the workload that was given to one expert in that site, which is only the nutritionist, is actually fair for them to do all those things when they have to cater about 3,000 meals per day. So next. Yeah. So we also found a surveillance, interview a surveillance officer. So actually this is the officer from the Ministry of Health who's actually doing the surveillance of the cases of the food poisoning. And according to them, they found that the food handlers routinely preparing meals without efficient protective equipment. So they don't use the correct equipment to cook, right? And then they don't actually practice proper hand washing. So that's, of course, linked to the food poisoning cases. And then they also found that raw meat, poultry, seafood, and high-risk ingredients are stored outside safe temperature ranges. So it's not put in the temperature place, or the one that should be put in the freezer was not put in the freezer. So it's really enable a pathogen growth. And they also found that cooked meals left at room temperature for 7 to 8 hours. So it's actually exceeding the recommendation WHO 4-hour safety threshold. So it was put outside for too long, right? And this is actually concerning because actually there are some, I won't say it's propaganda. Actually, there's a commercial who say like, oh, there's the MBG is so helpful because some students actually bring their free meals back home to their family. It's actually, you cannot do that, right? Because it will cause the food to be left in the room temperature more than the allowed hours, which is 4 hours, right? So actually dangerous for the family. There's no guarantee for the family. They don't get food poisoning if the food was bring from school to home. So it's not recommended actually. And then they also find that food trays contaminated by unsterilized dyeing clothes. So they were di lapnya nggak bersih lapnya ya. And then fresh produce inadequately are right. So how they clean the product is also sometimes it's not doing in the proper and recommended way. And then utensils and surface are wiped rather than sterilized. So cuma dilap, nggak di sterilisasi. And then poor sanitation permitting flies and maggots to contaminate meals in some facilities. So this is true because we found that some students are reporting to find some maggots in their meals. Yeah. So, and this has happened because of poor sanitation. And regarding certification, there are only small amount of people actually certification, but this is actually not important because again, if you are certified, then the question is again, how you implement. Right? Certification is just a safeguarding in the beginning on how you know, but what is the proper way of preparing the food. But then how you implement is not just because you certify, you can implement everything, right? You need the support also from your ecosystem, for your environment, for your work environment to implement your certification well. Okay, next. Next slide. Yeah. Another thing that we found that this program was implemented rapidly scale up, right? So then there's a lot of so each SPPK have to deliver 3,000 to 4,000 meals to 15 to 25 schools, and this is actually alarming because we have to consider about the workload. So someone who just create a new just for example taking example of a new catering business, and then suddenly they have to cater about 1,000 more people. Of course, they are about practice and habit they have to implement, and so this is considering about the workload actually. And workload causing negligence, and negligence will cause safety issues, right? I think that's valid everywhere. And then we also found that the centralized designs, that everything is one centralized, everything have to follow one protocol, is actually place an excessive burden to the SPPG units. Yeah, so the grassroots, the small units, and then of course it like I said before about SICP actually is something that is probably for the SPPG units was not ready. It's actually a very hard work to do, right? A very long list they have to follow. So this is something that I think we have to look again, and whether this one centralized design is something that also kind of increase the workload and increase the responsibility, and in the end it causing the negligence and then food poisonings. Next. Yeah. So this is our recommendation for improvement. So I think other speaker already mentioned about monitoring. This is like something that we have to do. And then of course, if the guidelines say we have to comply with the SICP protocols, that's what we have to comply. But then how we do that is not just by merely certifications. And then I think it's really important in terms of monitoring how we can actually monitor in coordination with local district officers or even the academician. I always question where's the academician in this sense, right? The local academician knows what is happening in the field, and then they can some of them actually knows about food safety procedures. They can actually help the local district officer doing the monitoring. If we're thinking about, oh, this is something that will increase the workload of the local district health office. And then I think there should be a clear risk management and monitoring plan for each district, which is customized. So it's not really, again, centralized from the central National Nutrition Agency. And then it should be translated as a practical guidelines for its SPG. And then I think we should enforce strict time temperature controls that align with the regulations to standardize and to minimize the pathogen growth, right? And then it's important to discard any meals that is exceeding safe holding times, because that's what we found from the interview. So never serve food that breaches the temperature of time threshold. This is really important. So and then invest not only in SPBG but also in essential infrastructure. When you prepare the food, you need refrigerator, you need freezer, you need sterilization equipment, kitchen facilities. That should be as part of the investment that was given to each SPBG, right? And the next. Yeah, so as a conclusion, I think what we see from the first year implementation of free nutritious meal program, we see that the high number of food poisoning cases are occurred almost in all provinces of Indonesia. And then this is clear that the CCP principles and food safety must be implemented from the top level, and then translation are needed at grassroots level, as we begin level. Something that is prepare the guideline that is fit with their ability, right? Because I think every SPPG will have a different readiness level, and then we should not expect them to have the same one, because they're sitting in a different province with the different infrastructures, right? And then we need the regular evaluation and improvements. And then this is something that is kind of alarming. So the currently detected contaminants that we have from the report are only biological contaminants, right? And then we only test that for biological contaminants. But we must be vigilant for other contaminants in the future, because there is a famous case from India from the meal day program, which is the Bihar case. This has happened in 2013, referenced by a lot of scientists outside, how that during their mid-meal day program, there is a contamination of pesticides on the food. They were served to students, and it caused almost more than 20 deaths of children who were served with the food. So this is, I hope that won't happen in Indonesia. I think we should learn, but then it is something that we have to ensure. And then we improve the system of then to prevent any contamination, not just biological, but also the chemical contamination. And I think it's really important to see the readiness of each district, each province, and implement a hybrid system rather than a centralized system. I think that's all, Tina. Thank you so much. Ready for our discussion.
Thank you so much, Bu Grace. I'm so sorry that I forgot to remind you, but you're still, yeah, more or less on the required time. Okay. Notes dari Ibu Grace hari ini sangat banyak ya. Jadi berbagai macam insiden belum semuanya terbuka ya, Bu. Jadi memang penelitian terbaru menunjukkan adanya kontaminasi biologis pada makanan, tapi seperti Ibu Grace tadi sampaikan di akhir bahwa kita juga harus aware bahwa ada vigilant contaminants yang mungkin juga menjadi sumber insiden yang terjadi. Misalnya yang terjadi di India adalah terkait penggunaan pestisida dan lain-lain gitu yang masih belum bisa kita buka sekarang ini. Dan Bu Grace juga banyak menyoroti tentang guideline yang terlambat rilisnya, bahkan ketika guideline sudah dirilis justru insiden tetap ada dan bahkan angkanya bertambah. Kemudian implementasi dari guideline yang dimiliki BGN juga masih di taraf opsional, di mana tergantung kesiapan penyedia layanan, dan ini juga menjadi bumerang ya bagi kualitas makanan. Kalau semuanya diterapkan, harus dipikirkan juga beban kerja SPPG-nya, karena ini juga akan menentukan bagaimana kualitas pangan dan mengurangi terjadinya angka insiden keracunan pada makanan. Kemudian rendahnya pematuhan standar keamanan pangan, misalnya makanan dibuat dengan minimnya prosedur kebersihan, standar cuci tangan yang kurang tepat, kemudian justru hal-hal yang sifatnya blunder ya, kampanye-kampanye makanan bisa dibawa pulang, dan ini justru bisa menjadi peningkat gitu resiko insiden gitu, karena nanti bisa meracuni tidak hanya siswa tapi orang-orang yang ada di rumah gitu, dan masih sangat rendah fasilitas sterilisasi juga karena ketimpangan infrastruktur dan sertifikasi yang juga masih rendah, meskipun Bu Grace sampaikan ini bukan acuan utama karena sertifikasi juga sama seperti safeguarding gitu. Ini penting, tapi lebih penting lagi adalah mengamankan berjalannya operasional yang sesuai dengan standar. Jadi yang dibutuhkan adalah desain yang tidak lagi sentralistik, karena justru memperburuk, karena memberikan load kerja yang tidak equal, tidak seimbang. Jadi ini juga memperbanyak insiden nantinya, dan rekomendasinya adalah dilakukan berbagai macam monitoring, kemudian diverse investment, tidak tersentral pada pembuatan atau pembangunan SPPG. Baik, I'll open Q&A for the sessions of Bu Grace, and then we're going to just proceed to the general discussion. I think we already have one question on the box. That is for Pak Nurfianto. You can also deliver it yourself, Pak Nurfianto. Are you there? From Malang, Nurfianto Giar Pangidung from Malang. If not, I can also read the question, I think. Okay, maybe he's not here. So I'll just read the question, Bu Grace. What is your response to the quality of human resource as the workforce of SPPG, where firstly nutritionists, a lot of nutritionists don't have, are not yet graduates, and there are certain leaflets are around that they can submit their application to be the nutritionist at SPPG, and also it can be filled even by food technology graduates or public health graduates. Yeah, I mean the unmatched vacancy with the expected competencies. Maybe you can also address this point, Bu Grace.
Yeah, so I think this is something that we recommend about the centralized system guidelines, like implementation of the standard according to SECP to prevent the food safety requires someone who's actually nutritionist graduates, right? Or even nutritionist graduate, they have to be trained and certified. So if we don't have that resources, what can we do? Can we do nothing? No, of course we can do something, but then it has to be adjusted, right? So if I think we can think about other systems where maybe we don't require an SPPG, right? Or again, like I say, we can also partner with a university, and it depends on what resources is actually available in each region. And how can we kind of arrange the systems? But then also, if the region doesn't have all that resources, maybe then we should think not to do that in the first place, right? I mean, because this is such a high risk, especially for children, why we have to force something that is not ready to be implemented yet? We can wait. It doesn't have to all regions do the same thing on the same time, right? So the region that is ready, that have SPPG, that have enough resources, human resources, nutritionists, they can go first, and then the other we can train the nutritionists there. that even can, like doing an internship in the SPPG in the different province, and then later when everything ready, we do it in that area. I think that hopefully that kind of answer your question, Pak Nurfianto.
Thank you so much for the questions and also for the answer. I think because we actually been running out of time, but as been promised that we have a general discussion, so I think we can open one questions per one speaker. I'll open it to the audience if you want to deliver it directly, but if not, I already have a list. If we have Divara that is now raising hand. You can unmute.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask Miss Anna. I want to ask about the food waste issues. Your presentation is very good, but I want to ask about, is there still any food waste issues in Brazil about this school meals program or your school meal program, or as the meal program is in Brazil already free from the food waste issues? Thank you.
Just make sure that I understand because my connection is not good right now. So you're asking about the food waste? I mean, my connection.
She's
Okay.
asking about food waste.
Okay, inside the program. So we have food waste. Of course, it's something that we count on the program. That's the reason. One of the reasons why we are. We train the school cooks to use all the parts of the food not to waste, and also the acceptability of the menu. So we are having this, it's like an audition. So we are always assessing the quality, not just the quality, but the acceptability of the menu. And why? So that's so we use the results to avoid the food waste, the food waste in menus in the program. So
Thank you, Anna. So I'll open again another questions maybe for Bu Irma, for Dr. Irma and Dr. Grace. If not, then I have one on the list for Dr. Irma. It's about how can we tackle the issues on food sovereignty. Maybe do we have it now, like the potentials, maybe that can help the improvement for our current MBG programs?
Thank you so much. I think that's a great question. I believe from what we've learned from the current MBG program, from what it is, I guess it's one challenge that we all need to, specifically for the governments and specifically for the BGN, that we all as the society, as the expert researchers, we all can help the governments to remind them that food sovereignty is actually one important component that could potentially strengthen the program by empowering, again, local food, respecting local cultures. And again, when you mention about empowering local economies, you speak about local foods. You talk about our archipelago. You talk about our face. We have abundance of kekayaan ikan, kemudian lokal pangan, which is different from one place to another. I think by mainstreaming the appreciations and the use of locally, affordably, and nutritious food, mungkin bisa menimbulkan kebanggaan dan juga semangat semangat menghidupkan kekuatan lokal kembali. Saya kira itu mudah-mudahan menjawab.
Thank you so much, Bu Irma. And the last list questions is for Dr. Grace. I think there's one on the list is about the balancing scale and quality. Like how can Indonesia maintain the scale and the social importance of MBG while also addressing food safety risk, labor conditions, and nutritional quality, especially in the absence of pilot phase.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I think but before we answer that, we have to again asking the government what is actually their main aim. What is actually their vision of having this free meal program? Because I think all of us agree that free meal program is something positive, right? But then we have to actually dissect what is the aim that we want to achieve. I think in the beginning, government said this is to combat stunting, but then why they gave it to the school children, that's also a bit of a controversy. Now, if they want to combat the food, poverty by giving people a food security, food insecurity, that can be done, of course, but then you have to have a clear aim and indicator and maybe different, and I think it's important to address the different province have their own. They can have a very different indicators, and that should be adjusted. Like again, having everything centralized, everything have one indicator. I don't think that's a good case for Indonesia. We learned that from other health programs and other programs that we actually need to customize everything according to the local needs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Grace, for the answer. And I think last but not least, we're gonna have like closing statement from Celius. So Isna, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to say thank you for all the committee member that helping this seminar went through very well. For Ibu Atina Rosidiana for the help as moderator, Dr. Grace Wangge, and for Dr. Ana Luisa, Dr. Irma, and also Dr. Tan have joining us today. Because you know what we did might be it's just a webinar, but this is have huge impact because at least we send a message, huge message that we have a hope. We keep doing something even though it's not like complex one, it's just sharing, but this is a hope. In Netherlands we say like licht puntjes in the donker dagen, or it's just like a small light in the middle of the dark night. So I hope all academia expert in Indonesia keep make a noise, like keep doing research on this, contribute to the government. Even though somehow they not like listening to us, but don't give up. Keep doing this because it's the matter of safety of our children. It's the matter of how the future will be in the next. So I hope, last but not least, please we can be hand in hand together to do something to give knowledge that we have. At least the government didn't run through whatever they want. At least someone or us remind them to still in the track because the budget is too big, the problem is too many, the victim is too much, like 10,000s of people got food poisons. So silence is not an option here. Thank you so much. I give the floor back to Atina.
Thank you so much, Isna. I think we are now coming to the end of the session. Unfortunately, as we conclude that today's dialogue is very important and has underscored a central message, at least for me, that MBG is a program of immense social importance, but the huge ambitions must be matched by accountability, safety, and learning. And I really hope that today marks not as the end point, but the beginning of more sustained knowledge exchange ways that strengthens the long-term performance of this program or more improvement in Indonesia in general. So thank you very much for all speakers and participants as well as the organizers. I think I about the certificates can be accessed later. Will be informed by the Celios team, and all the materials also will be sent to the registered emails. And I think on behalf of Celios, I'm so sorry if there's anything that beyond my competencies. And thank you very much for your time and engagement. So now I adjourn the meeting. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Everyone can fill the form to get the certificate. Yes, Anna?
No,
You
just say
understand?
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all.